Welcome back to Wellness in Action. This month, we're talking with our housing department to highlight the barriers to stable housing people face here in Buffalo. This episode will feature interviews with program directors focusing on the issues people face and resources available, and with caseworkers who are sharing some stories of the positive impact that can be made through these programs. Enjoy. I'm here with Bridget, CFO and Director of Harvest House, as well as the head over the housing program. How are you doing, Bridget?
I'm well. How are you today, John?
Good. So I just wanted you to come and kind of open up the conversation on housing and talk about our housing stability approach and how that impacts the overall wellness of our participants.
Yeah, so Harvest House believes that stable housing is the key, the foundation for a productive life and personal wellness for our clients. We help house the homeless and meet individuals' basic needs and equip them with the assistance and resources they need to maintain their stable housing. This approach is proven, it's cost effective, and it's highly successful to keep people housed long term. In 2024, homelessness surged by 81%, and approximately 6,400 people in Western New York are facing homelessness. And over 85% of those that are homeless are women, single women with children. These numbers are sure to increase with the cost cuts that the government has proposed.
Thank you. So, as opposed to, the other homeless shelters and emergency services around located in Buffalo, Harvest House focuses much more on long-term stability as opposed to that, middle of the night, nowhere to sleep kind of emergency state.
Yes, our housing employees, staff, work all throughout the day and evening. They do get people into emergency shelters, but our primary focus through our programs is to get them permanent, stable housing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here with the two directors of our housing program at Harvest House, Selena and Darwin. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
So Selena, I just wanted to talk to you about the issues when it comes to affordable housing, that especially in context to the east side of Buffalo where we're located.
Oh yeah. So right now the issues, not just the east side, but Buffalo as a whole, Erie County as a whole, is the housing stock. There's a lot of issues facing housing right now. It's not just the housing stock, there's also funding issues like budget cuts as well as stigmas. A lot of stigma within the east side, but all throughout Erie County, the nation, the stigma with people facing homelessness. But as far as housing stock's concerned, for example, in Erie County there's 5,000 homeless people. And there's only maybe about enough stock of housing to house 20% of those people. And even within that amount of housing, you have housing that is old. Buffalo's an old city. Mm-hmm. You have housing that does not pass inspection, that does not pass code. Old electrical, there's lead, there's asbestos, there's old windows, things like that that make it hard to not only find housing for people, but find safe housing.
Right. So even just like, I guess the barrier to entry, you could call it,
yep.
Because you might be able to get into a housing situation, but you might not have the money to make that a safe housing situation and a long-term solution.
Right, and unfortunately, you'll see the less expensive units, the ones that participants that we work with be able to afford, be more likely the unsafe housing versus someone that can afford a very expensive house. It's going to be in an area that, they don't have to worry about any of those things being wrong. So definitely the lower you're able to afford has meant less safe housing. That shouldn't be, an issue in America that people have to settle for unsafe housing.
Correct. And then I know there is a recommended percentage of someone's income that financial experts say should go towards their housing.
Mm-hmm.
And can you just talk a little bit about the difference between that recommended income
Mm-hmm.
and what's actually realistic, especially for people who are living at or below poverty?
Well, so for every county, there's income limits, or what is considered your income. Eli, for example, is extremely low income. So like a family of three, extremely low income would be like $27,000, somewhere around there. Normally, a recommended percentage of your income to go towards housing would be 30% for a regular income. But when you have that low of an income, if you're looking at 30% of that low of an income for a whole household, you're looking at a rent of like $600. It's extremely hard to find rent that low, that's safe housing, that's upkept and things like that. It's not impossible, but fair market rate nowadays for fair market rent is around $1,200 a month, not $600 a month. Even for a small one bedroom could be $900 to $1,000 a month. So it's gonna be hard for that family of three with extremely low income to afford the recommended percentage. They just don't exist. So now you're looking at people that have low income having to use 60% of their income to be able to afford the lowest of rents that exist right now. That only leaves a tiny bit of money for clothing, food, medical expenses, everything else. So a lot of people don't really see from the outside looking in how difficult this is, outside of just not being able to find an apartment.
Right, yeah, and that doesn't even account for, I know, what utilities are covered in that rent cost varies dramatically at every listing. And then that's another thing you have to cover yourself.
Yeah, especially if you're not in a complex, a lot of times utilities aren't even included. So that's an additional expense. And, there's other things that, that are housing challenges, budget cuts and funding cuts. If, for example, a lot of the cuts that may happen, you go from 5,000 homeless in the county to additional 2,000 people being homeless. That's all the rest of the systems being inundated with more people needing assistance. That's not going to be good for our city, our county, anything like that. So.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to talk about, because we are mostly focused on long-term housing, but as you mentioned, that homelessness is a massive problem here. So I wanted to have you cover the different resources and partners we have that work with the homeless, as well as just kind of how we partner with them to, kind of cover all our bases, both the emergency, it's Buffalo, it's winter, and I don't know where I'm going to sleep, and the how do we get you somewhere stable?
Well, for the cold months, Cold Blue Shelter is open every year. And there's the West New York Coalition for the Homeless that Harvest House is a part of, as well as many other local nonprofits. All are a part of that coalition, which help organize Cold Blue, as well as a lot of other initiatives throughout Buffalo. That also would include events like Project Homeless Connect that happens every year downtown in the fall at the convention center, where we have there's tons of organizations, nonprofit and profit, tabling for information for people. There's haircuts and coats and gloves and resources, and they also help you sign up for getting on the coordinated entry list, which is if someone's experiencing homelessness. Coordinated entry is kind of the funnel through point to get your name on a list based off of vulnerability so that you can then get assigned to one of these local organizations that have rapid rehousing programs, permanent supportive housing programs. So there's lots of different help out there. And then if you go online and look up some of those organizations, you can get all the up-to-date information on that.
Awesome, thank you. And that's a perfect kind of segue you made there into talking a little bit more about what our housing programs are.
Yeah.
And kind of the process around those.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have an eviction prevention program. That program is unfortunately only open so many months of the year because we help so many people so quickly. There's so many in need that we run out of the funding before the end of the year. So that you can give a call or come in, and we would have our frontline staff conduct a screening, which would be like a list of questions to see if you qualify. If you qualify, you'll get a call back, and we'll schedule for you to come in person to provide documentation. For those individuals, they would be experiencing like eviction court. So they would be that far in the process, and we would help assist with maintaining their housing. Because once someone becomes homeless, it's a lot harder to find housing rather than just keeping someone housed. And it saves a lot more money keeping someone housed than someone going through cyclical or chronic homelessness. So we're trying to stop the problem in the beginning. And not only do we help make sure the eviction doesn't happen, we'll help with wraparound services for whatever the issue is happening, to stop this from happening again. So that's our eviction prevention program. We also have a rapid rehousing program that we get the referrals in from that coordinated entry system I was talking about. Someone can go to the downtown library or call the coordinated entry phone number, and then they do a screening there to see if they're eligible. And then once they get on that list, I always tell people it's not a wait list, it's a priority list because it's in order of your need. You're gonna be higher up on the list if you're a veteran or have like a severe mental health or disability or single women with children, things like that. If you're just couch surfing, you're not going to end up on the list because there's people that are literally sleeping
need-based
outside of the library or at parks that really need this. So when they come up on that list, they get assigned to one of the rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing programs throughout Buffalo, which is many organizations besides us that do this kind of programming, and then they'll get connected with one of our caseworkers, and then we will help them locate, pay for portion of rent, decreasing over a goal year. And then while we decrease our end of rent, we'll also help them either get back to work or find benefits and help kind of bridge the gaps that have caused them to be in the situation where they need the assistance. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think one of the great things is, you mentioned it, we start by providing a larger portion of what their housing costs are, and then that slowly shrinks as we also help them to, get back to work and be able to support themselves, which is kind of the end goal of everything we do at Harvest House. Is we don't want to disadvantage anyone by giving them all the help and not letting them be able to get back on their feet.
Right. Because as we help them through whatever the barriers is, which everyone has a different barrier. Some people need help re-looking at their resume. Some people don't know how to navigate the benefit system. Some people, need help finding childcare and transportation so they can get to work. Everybody has something different going on. So we help assist through that process, and then the goal is at the end of the year, they can confidently pay 100% of their rent on their own and not have to worry about ending up back in the homeless system.
Thank you, Selena. And now we're gonna switch over to hearing from Darwin, another director of our housing programs here. And Darwin, I wanted to start by asking you, what is one thing that people don't realize impacts, your quality of life when it comes to their housing situations?
Housing. Hi, John. Hi, Selena. In reality, this is a very difficult question because it impacts everything. So when you have housing, when you have housing, think about it. If you have housing, you're able to go to work, no issue. You're able to go to school. You're able to, go to medical appointments. You're able to go to counseling. You're able to do many things when you have housing because you have stability. You feel safe when you have housing. You have electricity. You have water. You have your own space. You feel like you are the king or the queen of that place. Mm-hmm. That's your apartment. That's you. And you feel like you are important in society because you have a safe place. But imagine when you don't have housing. What happens when you don't have housing? And it's a difficult question because I feel like it changes everything. Mm-hmm. Not just for like the mom or like the mom or the father, but also for the children. One of the things a lot of times we don't think like, how does being homeless, affects the children? So I feel like one of the things it could affect them if they're used to going to one school and now they move to another place that maybe is like 45 minutes away, mm-hmm. or maybe it's like 30 minutes away. Now, if they don't have transportation, now they have to enroll them in like a transportation program at the school, or their behavior changes too. Mm-hmm. Like children's behavior. If you don't have stable housing, you might start acting up at school, or you might be traumatized. I don't know the long-term effects of being homeless for like children, but I'm pretty sure that is very negative. And also for like the parents too, it changes their environment. I feel like, for example, their income. I have some clients that their company found out that they were homeless, and the company is like, no, you gotta find a place, otherwise we're gonna have to let you go. That to me, that was like, what? So it does happen, because I'm assuming the companies know, like, if a person is homeless, they're not gonna be able to do a good job, mm-hmm. at the company. So a lot of companies like, no, you need a place, otherwise we're gonna have to let you go. Your environment changes. Sleep. You're not able to sleep in your own bed. You're not. You have a lot of stress. Your health changes too. Your safety. So it's a lot. It's a very difficult question because I feel like housing impacts everything in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you. So going back to school and the impact it has on children, Bridget earlier in her part mentioned that a significant percentage of the homeless within Buffalo are young women and single mothers. And I remember being in high school and just generally there were some kids that did not live in the city they went to school in with me, but because their parents wanted them to go to a better school, they had their address assigned to relatives in a different zip code. Mm-hmm. So like even with these single mothers, does that even put a barrier on getting their kids into school if you don't have consistent, stable housing when your kids start getting to that age?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very tough. A lot of parents, I'm pretty sure, like they're very creative and they're very resourceful because they want to give the best opportunities for their children. Mm-hmm. So they will do that. They will do that. Yeah, we see that a lot in the housing programs. We see a lot of women with children, they're homeless. And also the other issue too, like a lot of the shelters, they're full. They're over capacity. If you go to DSS, you might get hotel placement, but also like hotels are full. There's so many people that need a space. Like Selena was saying earlier, it could be like 20 families looking for the same apartment. Mm-hmm. And I'm not exaggerating. It could be a lot of people, a lot of families for the same apartment. And, and a lot of the children, they're small kids, so it's very tough for them. I'm thinking right now, like, imagine if you're used to, in the mornings, we wake up, we take a shower and then we go to work, no issues. But imagine if you're in a shelter or if you're in a place and there's a lot of people there, just to take a shower, it will take time. And I feel like your environment, that's gonna affect the children. So we see that a lot of women with children, because there's not enough apartments available for people.
Yeah. And then another thing I wanted to get into, just because it's not an area a lot of people understand, and especially for people kind of struggling with finding that stable housing, I wanted you to talk a little bit about renters' rights and what people need to know to be able to make sure that they are getting the right treatment from their landlords and property owners.
I was just thinking about the song, Fight for Your Rights. So one of the things that we do in the housing program, we give this to everybody. So every client, every tenant that comes through our doors, we give them this booklet. And also we let them know, like, hey, listen, read your lease, read the lease agreement. And also we read it. When we help people, we also read their lease agreement to make sure everything looks good, make sure everything is legit. So tenant rights are very important. And we also encourage people, like if they have housing court, if they have to go to court, we encourage them, go to court. Make sure you don't miss the appointment. Go and talk to the attorneys. So we do encourage people too. Like we work in housing, we're not attorneys, so we usually, when we have a question or we see like there's a very important case and we feel like there's something kind of crazy here, we usually call the attorneys with the permission of the client, and then they could talk and see what are their rights, because sometimes we don't know other people's rights, but then we go and check the book and stuff like that. But when we have a question and we feel like, no, I feel like the property manager is doing something illegal, let's talk to an attorney. So we do encourage people, talk to Neighborhood Legal Services or talk to Volunteer Lawyers Project. Make sure you go to housing court, talk to one of the attorneys there, and they work for the people. So they work for the tenants. So we work with all the agencies. That's the good thing about working here too. For in housing, we collaborate with a lot of people. So we don't know all the answers. There's a lot of questions. A lot of times we don't know all the answers. And when we don't know, we collaborate with other agencies. A lot of times Neighborhood Legal Services will be able to help the people. And there's also another agency too that they do great work too, Home, Housing Opportunities Made Equal. They help a lot of people too. So if we have questions, we'll send them the lease agreement, and then they will read it, give us their opinion and stuff like that. So tenant rights are very important because we see a lot of things. We see a lot of illegal stuff, like like we were talking earlier about women with children. A lot of times we see landlords don't want to rent to people that have small kids or small children. They don't want to rent, or sometimes landlords or property managers, they don't want to work with programs. They kind of discriminate because of the income, because they have Section 8. We don't really want to work with people that got Section 8. Oh, they're in a program, in a housing program. We don't want to work with people in a housing program. So when we see some type of stuff that doesn't benefit the client, we encourage them, like talk to the attorneys, let them know your case and see how they can help you. So, and we also work with landlords too, because sometimes too landlords don't know. A lot of times they might be doing something illegal, they don't even know it. So we open-minded, we talk to the tenant, talk to the landlords, and then if we have questions, we encourage people to talk to the attorneys because they know housing law and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned, obviously we spend a lot of time working with others to make sure that we're doing everything right. And I know that we have partnerships with HUD and other city partnerships. Just wanted you to talk about how, we work with the city itself to be able to help people.
You know the saying, it takes a village?
Yes.
So I used to have a supervisor that always used to tell me that it takes a village to help a client. It takes a village to help a client. So it is true. It does take a village to help a person or to help a client. So the partnership we had in the city, the collaboration, it blesses a lot of people. It's a good thing for a lot of the clients, because if we didn't have the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, and if we didn't have the city of Buffalo, having these programs or funding these programs, there will be a lot more people homeless, or there will be a lot of more issues in society, in the community. So we do need collaboration. We do need partnerships. We do need other people with more power to help us. So these two agencies, HUD and the city of Buffalo, they do help us to help other people. So it's a blessing to many people. A lot of times we do a lot of the work, but if it wasn't because of other people, at City Hall or the people at HUD, they give us the green light to help people. So we are able to help a lot of people because of other agencies. So the collaboration is very important. Me personally, I believe a lot in collaboration. So when I don't know something and I know another agency, they're very good at that, or a lot of times other people know other answers, or they could give you a different perspective too. So when we have difficult cases, we talk in the team, and then we also reach out to other agencies, collaborate with other agencies.
All right. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you both for coming on.
Thank you, John.
Sharing those
And
insights.
thank you, Selena.
Hi, Kendra. Thanks for coming on.
No
today.
problem. Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
And I wanted to just have you, as well as some of the other housing staff, come on and talk about what keeps you going while you're dealing with all these difficult cases.
Okay, a little about what keeps me going is music and spirituality. I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe that the work that we do deals with having a heart to do this for people. So staying grounded in my spirituality and music. Music always helps me. I love listening to music daily.
Yeah, it is. It's good to have ways to, decompress.
I agree.
Is there any specific stories that come to mind where you were dealing with a difficult case and it had a good ending?
Yes, I had a client who, when we started off, it was very rocky. We were trying to get them into housing situations, and at first they just were not trying to comply at all, but wanted the help so much. And it was a little bit of chasing down, trying to find them, a few hard conversations, but in the end, we got that person in housing. They got a job, they got themselves stable, and as of now is doing amazing and is going to work every day, loving to go to work every day, is taking care of business as they're supposed to. It's just a beautiful thing.
Awesome. It's wonderful to hear that. Wonderful to not just hear a story about a difficult situation they were facing, but how that impacts them and the stress, and how we're still willing to work with them through that and get them to, that stable situation in life.
Yes, it wasn't easy at all. She went through a lot, but she was able to maintain and stable herself. We were also able to give her much support from here at Harvest House. She visited the baby ministry. We had a lot of different people talk to her. She was ready to move forward once we got a hold of her. It was more of getting a hold of her and showing her that we were here for her. But once that happened, she just took off running and been running ever since, and she's doing great.
All right. Thank you for coming on. That
No
was a beautiful
problem.
story.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Mercedes. Thanks for coming on today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And I just wanted you to share your perspective on what keeps you going when you're dealing with these difficult cases and situations.
I just think with me being a young mother, growing up with my children and sometimes fell into hardship, helping others, just I can reflect and it gives me great peace and joy because at one point in my life I went through some things as well.
So you can relate. And
Right.
do you end up working a lot with these, young mothers that?
Yes, yes, and older people, but yeah, I really like working with all groups, but my heart a lot goes to young mothers, single mothers with children, when they stump on hard times and getting them back in position and helping them navigate through life, as some people don't have somebody to fall back on or help out there. So it's really rewarding, and I enjoy helping people and seeing people grow and get in a better position. So, I mean, I really enjoy it.
Awesome. And are there any specific stories where you saw that positive outcome get reached that come to mind?
Yes, I had a young mother of 3. Well, she was pregnant at the time when looking for housing. She was homeless, had nowhere to turn to in a shelter. Her kids were taken away. We housed her. She's regaining her kids back. She had a healthy baby. We moved her literally right before having the baby. So that was a real big stress for her. So moving in right on time was like amazing because it helped with the birth of the baby, a safe place for her and the baby to go, home to. So now just it's the repairing part, but she's doing really good and she's happy. So
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing.
yeah, you're welcome anytime.
So, hi, Lisa.
Hi,
Thanks for
John.
coming on and sharing your insights.
Of course.
And I just wanted that insight on what keeps you going while you're dealing with all these difficult cases and situations that you see people go through.
I think it's just the idea of being able to help, and there's so much need for it today. And even though I haven't had the lived experience like that, but you never know, anything at any time could happen to any of us. So to keep that in mind, because I have a lot of, empathy, like what would happen if I were in their shoes. I'd want somebody to not judge me, and I'd want somebody to help me. And a lot of people don't, they don't have that in their life. So to try to be, that support for people is, and knowing, and the satisfaction of knowing I could help somebody, a family, is definitely what keeps me going here and from the field before in human services. Yeah.
Awesome. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And can you tell me, is there any stories that come to mind where you saw one of those difficult cases and situations go through the right channels and have a positive ending for that client?
Yes, absolutely. I was an intensive case manager, and we had to find housing as well in previous roles, as I do here, or will be since I'm new. But just finding the apartment for this particular young lady, child protection was involved. Unfortunately, just because she couldn't maintain a home due to some, terrible incidents of like domestic violence and that. So to find her the apartment, and when I got everything all settled and we walked in, I got the keys after she signed the lease, and the smile on her face, and she literally like cried and hugged me and said, "Oh, thank you so much that I can have this now. I can get my daughter back, and it means the world." And I believe she was really sincere, and following through with her, going to visits afterwards. It was a huge turnaround in her life, a huge positive influence, and things did work out. It doesn't always work that way, but it did for her, and several other stories like that. But just bringing the family together, reunifying them, and just knowing that there's support and stuff for them because it's difficult in this area.
Yeah. Thank you. That was really wonderful story.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for the work you do
Oh,
here and the
thanks so
people you
much.
help. Thank you for listening to episode 4 of Wellness in Action. You can visit our website for information on how you can partner with us in our mission. Thank you again, and we'll see you next month for another episode.